In this episode, we're going to take a look at importing models into Capture. I've got a design, a few pieces of scenery that were drawn in SketchUp that we're going to import into Capture. The way we do that is using the File Import Model function and selecting the SketchUp file that we wish to import. There's a few messages scrolling by here that I'll get back to in a moment, but for the time being, I'll simply hit Continue. And we're brought to this top view of the SketchUp file that we've opened. Now, the easiest way to proceed here is to simply drag and drop everything into the Capture design, but I want to mention a few options here before we move on. So to begin with, you do have the option of selecting individual objects in the event that you don't want to import everything into your design. And there's also a few options available for how you want to treat layers in the file you're importing from, if you want to ignore them or if you want to import them as well. And if you're importing from a file format that is scale agnostic, you may also have to help Capture with a drawing unit of the size of the drawing you're importing from. But let's do the basic thing. Let's select everything and simply drag and drop this into our design. At which point there's one final question to answer, and that's whether to retain the position in the original drawing or not, which I'll choose to do here. But of course you could drop this scenery anywhere in your design if you wanted to. Once we've done that, we can close this window again, or if for some reason you'd like one more of this, you can drag and drop that in here, or if you want one more of that, you catch the drift. You can pick anything you need in here. And that's very useful if you're importing from another Capture project file, for instance. So you may have drawn belay towers or assemblies with fixtures and scenery that you want to reuse. So the import tool is your friend in that case too. Anyhow, now we've got these pieces of scenery imported, and along with that, the layers and materials from the SketchUp file as well. So if I go back to SketchUp here and we take a look at the materials in the model, you will see that they correspond with the materials that were imported. All right. Finally, it is worth noting that the way the objects are imported in terms of which subparts are selectable and movable, this depends a lot on how the file was drawn in the original program. If everything is in the same layer, uses the same material, then you will be importing one giant block basically, which you will not be able to split in any way. So it's worth taking the time to work with groups, components, layers, and materials in the source software so that what you get imported into Capture is easier to work with. So anything drawn in a specific material will definitely be separately selectable from objects using other materials. Finally, a brief comment on this text that I mentioned we'd get back to. There may be errors appearing in here that may be worth taking a look at. There's not necessarily any need to be alarmed. Doesn't mean that the import is useless if there's been an error. It simply means there was an element of design in the source file that couldn't be preserved in Capture. For instance, SketchUp supports having different materials on different sides of an object, which Capture doesn't, so there was an error about that in this case. So, thanks for watching.